My name is Asha, and I went to take adventure bike training. Let's just say it didn't go as planned. I'm at the BMW US Rider Academy in Greer, South Carolina. Earlier in the day, we did track riding, as in on the track, and I had that in my previous video. Please see the link above. But now I'm going to get ready to get to the main crux of why I even came to the BMW US Rider Academy in the first place, and that is to mostly work on my off-road riding skills. As I said in my previous video, to ride in Cameroon, you need to be adept at both on-road and off-road riding skills. I feel like off-roading has been the most intimidating for me in my learning journey on a motorcycle. I had 2 days at the US Rider Academy, and we started off-road training on the second half of the first day. This training greatly humbled me. As you're going to see as we go through the various tasks, I had some wins and I had quite a few losses. At the end, I felt like I failed, but you can be the judge of that yourself. I would love for you to see what happens and then drop a comment below on what do you think. Did I fail this training? In the first session, we practiced going through ruts and whoops. Going between these two wooden beams was to simulate going through a rut. I went through fine the first time, but then suffered brain block going through the next time. I was generally okay, but my foot did bend a bit.
Oh gosh, I'm just like this toe area, I think it flexed a little bit. The whole time I had to feel my foot was gonna catch on the...
My problem was that I fixated on the wooden beams on the edge. When I go through ruts in Africa, I just go through them. But here, suddenly my mind went haywire having to keep the tires in a narrow space in between two wooden beams. And I was afraid that my foot somehow was going to hit the beam, which literally made no sense.
So, you're gonna start the bike up, you're gonna keep your eyes up, don't drop, gaze up the clutch straight to the peg. Push your weight back.
I was able to go through fine again a couple times, a bit shaky though. Unfortunately, I did stall out right before the beams this very last time. The bike started to tilt, and due to my short legs, I just couldn't recover the bike. Afterwards, we went for a break, and I unfortunately was not able to capture the small hill practice we also did during this session. The next day, I ended up changing bikes. I went from the G310GS to the F800GS. I insisted in the beginning on the G310GS because I understood it as the lightest adventure bike they had, and I definitely wanted the lightest bike. The problem is that it was actually taller than I expected. The team convinced me that the F800GS, even though it was overall a heavier bike, would be more manageable because there was a shorter seat height version. At least being a bit shorter helped, and so it was a bit of a trade-off. I just decided to go along with the F800. We started with me standing riding the bike off-road. I could sort of do that, but it is the braking while standing up that I did not have experience with. Braking while seated on the track was no problem with nice asphalt. While braking standing up, we started off with using rear brake only, and so I had to learn how to position my foot on the brake while standing and stopping on a low traction surface.
My problem was getting into second gear while standing.
So shift down the first, shift up the second on the service road so you don't have to worry about it spinning.
Ah, okay, good.
I also didn't know how to even shift gear standing up. I pretty much had to sit down and shift and then stand up. For this type of stand-up braking on a low traction surface, the instructor made sure I had my rear end back.
I want you to get your weight back.
This position of keeping my weight back like this became the story of my life during the training, again and again. Here, this was my, hey, your butt is not far back enough again signal during this exercise.
All right.
Eventually, we added the front brake.
Stopping all the way down there.
Wow.
How did that feel? You look good.
I thought wiggly, but...
Yeah.
One error I made was accidentally revving the throttle while going for the brake. Here you can see the film crew that was there for the day to film the training and just to film the BMW programs that they were having there in general. I had no idea in advance that they would be here. They did ask me permission to film. I did say yes, but I would be lying if I said it didn't add a bit of pressure on me, because for sure it did. At one point, I also placed my feet down early while stopping and it was dragging a bit.
Did you feel yourself chasing the bike a little bit there?
Yeah.
I did that because going at the speed I was going and emergency braking made the bike feel a bit wiggly feeling, shall we say, and so I just wanted to get my feet down as soon as possible. By the end, I can say that though I was afraid of emergency braking while standing on a loose surface, at least I was able to get the gist of what I needed to do and stay on the bike without incident. Now it was time to go over to the famed gravel pit. This was not a light dusting of gravel either. To start me off, the instructor had me try going the shorter width of the gravel pit first instead of the longer width. That worked out well. So it was time for me to try to make it the entire length of the gravel pit.
Oh, yeah.
So what happened there, your weight's pretty far forward still. So what's it doing? It's making the handlebars heavy and it's really wanting to go like this. So get that weight back.
Like at the emergency brake level?
Yes.
Okay. Yeah, it gets really deep.
Yeah, it's definitely a lot more difficult going the long way. Because like really the depths change a lot.
Time to try again. This is pretty deep gravel, folks. So far, so good. Unfortunately, the next time did not work out so well.
Oh, I couldn't understand.
So you were just a little late at bringing those bars back. Okay?
Bringing what back?
The bars. So it just kind of tucked, built a plow, and sent you over.
Okay, so when it's stuck
Do
on...
you want me to teach you how to get out of gravel, or would you?
Sure.
You have to give this thing throttle, get the RPMs up.
The instructor tried to show me how to get the bike out of deep gravel myself. That also did not work out for me.
Yeah, it's just getting out of this. It's like...
I know it's harder being short. Want me to get it out now?
Yeah, sure.
Finally, she just did it for me herself. Not to give up, I decided to give it one last go. You can see towards the end, I could have almost lost control. But, made it and ended the gravel pit on a high note. And now it was time for lunch, and I was very happy to be able to go back feeling like a champ. After lunch, we started out by doing what they call enduro laps. It's basically freestyle trail and general off-road riding, not your traditional style enduro. Also, my instructor added going over obstacles or terrain we had already practiced on from either the previous day or a previous session. We did do enduro riding yesterday, but my camera was not on to capture any of it. I would say that yesterday was a bit more scary and trying for me because it seemed like the turns she was taking me through in the trees were tighter. Today, she seemed to take it a little more easy on me with the paths she was taking, but it was still challenging enough for me. Next up, we practice going over these little humps. There is a set of 3 of what they call camel humps and a set of 5. I gotta admit, it was pretty unnerving because my skid plate kept on hitting up against the top of the humps. This seemed to lower down my momentum, which in turn made me feel unstable on the bike. My instructor told me that I was coming in too hot with my speed and needed to slow down. Secondly, the skid plate is probably hitting more because I am on a lowered version of the F800. Yeah, short people problems. but my instructor still reassured me that it shouldn't really affect me as much as I think it would be affecting me, that I was fine, essentially. Even though all that scraping of my skid plate was a bit unnerving for me, I decided to really just focus on slowing my speed down and trying to have more control to go over the set of the 5 camel humps at the end. There was still scraping of my skid plate, but my speed was controllable and I was able to make it through. Doing the camel humps was supposed to be part of the progression to get me to eventually go down hills on the GS. The next step was going up and down this small hill in a controlled way. This is where things started to become a bit spicy. The first thing was for me to do a few passes following the instructor up and then down this small hill. After that, it was time for me to go up and then down the hill myself without following the instructor. I didn't get the best start on this run and needed a reset. The instructor got me a reset, thankfully.
I started getting low on that side. Okay. All right.
This hill looks like nothing on the video. I mean, for serious riders, it basically is nothing, but it was the slope that messed with me in person, since it at least seemed more steep than I'm used to. My first go down the hill was a mess. I gave it some sudden crazy throttle, it wasn't smooth, and I was kind of freaked out.
No.
I guess it wasn't a total disaster, at least I didn't fall off the hill. Big fear!
So what happened there, your feet came off at the top, so that messed you up. And then just way too much speed going down.
Yeah, I think I hit the throttle somehow by accident.
The next few runs, I kept having the same problem. I was supposed to approach and descend very slowly, but kept on hitting 10+ mph speeds going down. It was just too fast. Here, I only reached 7 mph, still too fast.
So I try to use more brake, but I guess I'm not braking.
You're on the brake at the top and then you release it. Once you release it, it starts to go.
I'm releasing it?
Yes. So back to the front brake.
Next was 9 mph. And on my last run, it was back over 10 mph. That was a wrap. Why did I fail this? Well, if I couldn't control my speed enough on this small hill, I could end up with a way too fast of a speed going down the big behemoth hill folks go down. Going down hills is one of the big requests I made because I live in a very hilly place in Cameroon. To not progress further by getting to the big hill was definitely disappointing.
Yeah, I wish I could do more on that, but at the same time, I'm just like, I don't know if my mindset is going to allow me to.
Honestly, I tell every class this, don't let your ego get the best of you. When we start to get tired, that's when injuries come into play.
I threw in the towel here because at the end of the day, my safety is greater than my pride. I can say I did reflect on and take back the tips that I learned on this exercise, and it did help me later on with my bike back in Africa at least. The next challenge was doing what they call bike yoga. Things really went downhill from here. Not downhill like in the last hill thing I did. But anyway, bike yoga is supposed to be a sort of warm-up for balancing and movement on the motorcycle. The warm-up consists of placing your body in unusual positions on the motorcycle. Why, you might ask? These positions are to help you to get a sense of building confidence at low speeds balancing on a motorcycle. It's supposed to teach you balance anyway. We went back to the gravel lot where I did the emergency braking and started going around at low speed. The first step is to remove one of your legs from the pegs and place it behind you on the seat.
Nice.
The next step is to now take that leg all the way over so you can sit down side saddle style on the bike. Things are getting shaky here. The coup de grace, I can say, is when finally I was literally supposed to stand up on one peg, y'all, with my entire body on one side of the bike. The point was to follow the instructor on said peg, but this is what happened instead. Yes, ladies and gentlemen, I abandoned ship.
okay.
Yeah, I'm fine.
What happened is whenever you stood up, you just didn't wait to the end. Like you had to kind of bring your weight up and into the bike. Are you comfortable with that, or do you want to skip that?
Yeah, I think we'll skip.
All right.
I guess I might have put too much weight, and somehow it turned.
Yeah, when you stood up, you just stood straight up. So remember, even with the starting from the side of the bike, or so when you stand up, you got to kind of bring your weight up and into it.
Yeah,
Same
I
thing.
think it caused the bike to now, and you know.
You stood up just like this. I'll show you. If you're on the side of the bike, you just stood up like this.
Yeah, instead of.
Like this.
And of course, that's going to put more weight on that peg.
Yeah, then it's going to want to go that way.
Right. That's basically why it started to do.
Exactly.
And I was like, oh no! I knew I was veering off, but I was like, at that point, I was like, I'm veering. I've got to somehow now see what I can do.
We only had a small amount of time left in this last day of the training, so I decided to move on to the final box. The painful part of this is that I literally have done this in Africa a few months before coming. Why couldn't I do it at the Rider Academy? I don't know. Could be the pressure of riding this big old heavy bike, maybe jitters accumulating from the day. Maybe I just glitched, but yeah, it didn't work out this time. Since I have done it before though, I know I will do it again. Here we are, the sand pit, which for me was the final boss, my greatest challenge by far. The first 4 times was just disaster. 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 I really could not see how I was going to get this heavy bike through in such outrageously deep sand. It was hot outside, South Carolina in July. I was tired, and this was toward the end of the last day. Oh, and my brain battery was definitely on low. Not to make excuses, but because I genuinely was just awful at this. I decided to ask the instructor if I could ride along the edge of the pit. Still some sand, but not as deep. I was thinking maybe I can progress slowly toward the deeper stuff. She said yes because there was no way for me to try going the shorter width of the sand pit like I did with the gravel pit. I still failed.
Camera crew.
Oh no, they need to. This.
Do you want them to film or no? Because I can tell them not to.
Yeah, I'm just struggling, so I'd probably be better if they didn't.
I absolutely didn't want to be filmed here. It wouldn't be fun for me having strangers film how completely clueless I was at this sand exercise, and it would just be a waste of their time, not being able to get any cool footage, which I would feel pressured to provide. By the 7th time through, I did start getting at least a lot further. The instructor showed me video of how I was standing neutral on the bike and not far back like I should have been. Like I said before, my brain battery was probably too drained to understand instructions like keeping my rear end back. On my 8th run, I finally made it. You can see a lot of handlebar work trying to control the handlebars from not going too far left or too far right.
You were moving the bike more, but clutch is out.
One error I made was partially holding in the clutch the entire time instead of releasing it. This time the instructor let me know that my weight was back.
Well, at least I can say I have one victory.
So far, making it 1 for 8 is not too bad, is it? 9th time was a dud. The instructor said I hit a rut. I don't know, I just fell down. Number 10 was a winner. 11 was also a winner. Now at this point, I could have went home a relative winner. I mean, by leaving on a win.
Want to do it some more, or are you good?
But no, I must like punishment because I continued on. Sadly, the next 2 runs were also disasters. The instructor let me know I was probably tired and should take a break. Yet I knew that was the end. I ended my sand battle 3 wins to 11 losses. It could have been at least 3 to 8,
Okay.
but no.
Why don't we sit to the side and take a bit of a break?
By me leaving the sand pit, this gave the film crew the opportunity to get the sand shots they were looking for. The instructor did several drive-bys in the sand for them, and as expected, she was like a pro at it, like completely effortless. At this time, I had been riding a motorcycle for about 1 year and 2 months in Africa. I felt bad about my sandpit experience since that was the end, and I really had hoped to have done much better than I did in training overall. I had also hoped to have had time to practice more diverse skills, so I was disappointed to end on that note. There was one silver lining. Not sure how much of a difference it made, but I found out later that the sand there was actually pretty dry for riding. Deep, dry sand is going to be difficult in general, especially when adding a heavy bike. Usually they wet the sand down a decent amount to aid traction more. Perhaps I may have had some more successful passes in the sand if it had been a bit more wetted down for a noob like myself, but of course, with me being the only person going through it, that would have been quite a bit of water to waste. So, what do you think? Do you think I failed this adventure bike training? Why or why not? I would really love your feedback since it really helps small little micro channels like mine to grow. Thanks for coming with me on my journey. If you want to see more content on my journey as an American learning to ride in Africa, along with some mechanical videos, gear reviews, and a smattering of African cultural commentary from an American perspective, please subscribe. Until next time.